প্রিয় বন্ধুরা, আপনাদেরকে আবারও আজকে আমাদের এই লাইভ প্রোগ্রামে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি এবং আমি আশা করি যে আপনারা আজকে আমাদের যে এক মহান কবির উপর এই অনুষ্ঠান, চার্লস বদলেয়ার, ফরাসি কবি, তার উপরে আমরা যে অনুষ্ঠানটা করছি সেটা আপনারা ভালোভাবে এনজয় করবেন। তো in the beginning, I'm telling you to all my participants that I'm sharing the link first, then we'll start. So that will be in fact, a technical point. So I hope that you will understand it. The first, I'm sharing the link, and then we'll go for we'll start the program. So I got the link, and this is the link which is now so I'm just sharing to my viewers in my Facebook, on my Facebook. Then we'll go for the it will take just 1 or 2 minutes. It is still, we are not on live, just we are on live on YouTube. Just a minute. So this is another link. It is in fact the live link I'm just sharing with my with our viewers. Yes, the friends, now just 1 minute more, then we can start it. Okay, so I'm now just welcoming everyone, and I hope that we'll have a very good program tonight. Do you hear me, everyone? Please, just you tell me.
Yes.
Okay, so in the beginning, what I want to say that are you hearing any echo?
No.
No echo. Okay, then good. And in fact, not an echo. Okay, that's good. So now I just introduce the poets. Those are today we have, and they will just recite the Baudelaire's poems, and also at the same time they will read their poems. So in the beginning, I just want to say something about Baudelaire. You know that he born in 1821 in France, and after then he became a very famous poet, French poet. And in terms of modernity, if we talk about modernity, then we must begin with the poetry of Baudelaire. And for that reason, his influence is immense all over the world. And generation after generation, the poets, they read Baudelaire, and sometimes they learn something important about the poetry, about modernity, they just take lesson from Baudelaire's poems. So his influence naturally is immense to our poetry and also to poetry of many, many poets. They just like Baudelaire to read, and also they enjoy his poems. So in the beginning today, I want to just mention that the poets, 9 poets, we have 10 poets in fact with us. And they are Marilyne Bertoncini from France, the native country of Baudelaire, and she is from there, and also Lambert Savigneux, also from France. And then we got Brunhilde, Roman, Ibáñez from Spain, Elisabetta Bagli from both Italy and Spain, and Mircea then Duta from Romania, Isaac Cohen from Israel, Myriam, Ghezaïl ben Brahim, Tunisia, Julia Pikalova from Russia, and both from Russia and Italy. And then we got Gili Haimoch from Israel, and Anna Maria Stępień, she is from Poland. So I have just mentioned their names, and later I will just introduce them with you in detail when they will read their poems and when they will read Baudelaire's poems. So first, I want to just ask Marilyne, please, you talk, you just say something. What I want, I asked you, I told you before that Baudelaire's influence, how it is now still in France, in contemporary poetry, how you feel and how you are seeing. Just please tell us. Marilyne, you have muted your microphone. Or
okay, thank
yes.
you. I'm talking. I wanted to introduce Baudelaire in his time, first of all, because if he left to his contemporary the idea of a scandalous man and a shocking writer, he was recognized much later when he was rediscovered by surrealism. And I think everything has been said already about Baudelaire in 200 years. Everybody knows about his hatred of progress, the rejection of the press, for which he wrote, the contestation of photography, which is the mean by which we have so many views of him, his antipathy for town. He always lived in Paris, never left Paris, and wrote lots of poems about Paris. So he's a very paradoxical character. He hated what we can call the bourgeois as a governing class, which he despised. But he was born in a very troubled period. After the revolution, an empire, 3 kings, a new republic, and the end of it with a second empire. So a period very similar to what we can feel now with all the changes at the turn of the new century. In a way, I would say that is like some sort of one last of the Mohicans, one last romantic in a period where dark romanticism made him something like a brother to figures of dark rock, gorish dark rock of our times, or the figures of, I should say, David Bowie or Lou Reed for my use, people who didn't accept society and tried to shock by their writings or their attitudes or their music. Because of all this, I think he's a man of our time. And the more so now, when the Y generation is entangled in new technologies, which they despise, dreaming of a renewed state of natures in the face of the degradations imposed by the progress which Baudelaire hated. And everybody now, or at least nearly everybody, dreams of a nature temple, just as the one he created in his poetry to recreate a world interior and protective. And I would like to underline this point too in the modernity of Baudelaire is the first to have made of his poetry a self-analysis of his discomfort, this spleen, which appears in the subtitle of his major work, The Flowers of Evil. He is a pioneer in this because he discussed and visited the profundity of his psyche in a time when Freud hadn't even thought about it, and thus opening the way to such voices as those of the surrealist or Henri Michaud in France, a poet who explored by attempting on himself experiments of almost medical nature the mental domain of man. In this, Baudelaire is very important for writers, for poetry, for artistic and cultural world. I would like to cite Antonin Artaud too, who did of his state of mental disease the work of his life. Now, this was Baudelaire as a man in his time, and just as he would have been in our time. But he's a contemporary of poets now on because of his choice of trivial themes, carrion, misery, prostitution, and by his stylistic research. He favored over the years a non-rhythmic, unrhymed prosaic form instead of the traditional versification. And even if he didn't invent this prose poem, he is the one who made it a concept and adapted it to the growth of the town, which he described, to the ever-changing situation of of his time. His search for form makes me think of a title by Émile Verhaeren, a Belgian poet of the turn of the century, who wrote a book which title is Tentacular Towns. And I think that Baudelaire just wrote tentacular poems for a tentacular world where things were always changing, a constant metamorphosis. From then on, his style of writing, his research, permitted the writing of Yves Bonnefoy, Philippe Jacotet, or Francis Ponge, whose poems in prose he called proem. I feel is really a poet of the 21st century. This Bicentennial is a great opportunity also to pay homage to the translator Baudelaire was. He introduced in France the work of Edgar Poe in a wonderful translation, which is so much like Baudelaire's own work. He absorbed the substance of Edgar Poe and made it a work of his own. And it's very important now on, and because translation in this global world we're living in, is an important part of the artistic creation and the artistic communication. And that's the third point of Baudelaire's modernity and importance for our time. I think that's all what I wanted to say. Everything else has been already said. I'm finished.
You have finished?
Yeah, I just chose some poems to read as an illustration to what I wanted to say, but I finished now.
Are you looking for some poems to read?
Yeah, I thought of some poems to explain what I intended. A poem which is called Windows, which is illustrative of his interest for town and for tiny details, banal things in life. Windows. Looking out through an open window, one never sees as much as when who looks at a closed window. There is nothing deeper, more mysterious, more pregnant, more tenebrous, more dazzling than a window lit by a single candle. What one can see in the sun is always less interesting than what happens behind a window pane. In this black or luminous hole, life lives, life dreams, life suffers. Beyond the waves of the roofs, I can see a middle-aged woman, wrinkled already, poor, always leaning over something, and who never goes out. Out of her face, her clothes, her gesture, with almost nothing at all, I made up this woman's story, or rather her legend, and sometimes I tell it to myself and weep. Had it been a poor old man, I would have made up his own story just as well, and I go to bed proud to have lived and suffered in others than myself. Maybe you will say, are you sure this legend is a true one? But what does it matter? What is this reality outside of me if it has helped me to live, to feel that I am and what I am? I think this poem is important because it just shows how imagination must rely on details about reality, and how reality is not all that's important. It has to be transfigured, translated by the poet. That was the first poem I wanted to read to you. I chose another one which is dedicated to Felix Nadar, a famous photographer of the 18th century. As we know that Baudelaire hated photography as anti-artistic. It's very strange. He dedicated it to this photographer. And this poem, The Dream of a Curious Man, is interesting because it is the one poem in which one can see how accurate is Baudelaire's interest in searching inside himself the origin of his psychic anguish and problems. The Dream of a Curious Man, to Felix Nadar. Do you know, as I do, delectable suffering? And do you have them say of you, oh, the strange man? I was going to die, in my soul full of love, a peculiar illness, desire mixed with horror, anguish, and bright hopes, without internal strife. The more the fatal hourglass continued to flow, the fiercer and more delightful grew my torture. My heart was being torn from this familiar world. I was like a child, eager for the play, hating the curtain as one hates an obstacle. Finally, the cold truth revealed itself. I had died and was not surprised. The awful dawn enveloped me. What? Is that all there is to it? The curtain had risen, and I was still waiting. This translation by William Aguilar. The other one was mine. And the third poem I wanted to give you as an illustration of the personality of Baudelaire is one that might have been a garish, Gothic song or poetry in our days. It's the carcass or the carrion. My love, do you recall the object which we saw that fair, sweet summer morn? At a turn in the path, a foul carcass on a gravel-strewn bed, its legs raised in the air like a lustful woman, burning and dripping with poisons, displayed in a shameless, nonchalant way, its belly swollen with gases. The sun shone down upon that putrescence, as if to roast it to a turn, and to give back 100-fold to great nature the elements she had combined. And the sky was watching that superb cadaver blossom like a flower. So frightful was the stench that you believed you'd faint away upon the grass. The blue flies were buzzing round that putrid belly, from which came forth black battalions of maggots, which oozed out like a heavy liquid all along those living tatters. All this was descending and rising like a wave, or poured out with a crackling sound. One would have said the body, swollen with a vague breath, lived by multiplication. And this world gave forth singular music, like running water or the wind, or the grain that winnows with a rhythmic motion shaking their winnowing baskets. The forms disappeared and were no more than a dream, a sketch that slowly falls upon the forgotten canvas that the artist completes from memory alone. Crouched behind the boulders, an anxious dog watched us with angry eye, waiting for the moment to take back from the carcass the morsel he had left. And yet, you will be like this corruption, like this horrible infection, star of my eyes, sunlight of my being, you, my angel and my patient. Yes, thus will you be, Queen of the Graces, after the last sacraments, when you go beneath grass and luxuriant flowers to moulder among the bones of the dead. Then, O my beauty, say to the worms who will devour you with kisses that I have kept the form and the divine essence of my decomposed love. Translated by Marilyne, these two. Well, reading it again, I think it's like the most baroque description of love and death. That's all I wanted to give you about Baudelaire. I've finished, Masoud.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bertoncini. And I want to say something to my viewers. Those are, in fact, from my country. I want to say something to them in Bangla. প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনারা শুনলেন এতক্ষণ ফরাসি কবি ম্যারিলিন বেরটোনসিনি তিনি বোদলেয়ারের উপর একটা ছোট্ট নিবন্ধ পড়লেন, একটা ছোট্ট রচনা পড়লেন, এবং সেখানে সমকালীন ফরাসি কবিতায় এবং বিশ্ব কবিতায় বোদলেয়ারের যে প্রভাব সেই বিষয় সম্পর্কে তিনি আমাদেরকে জানালেন। এবং সেই সঙ্গে সঙ্গে তিনি বোদলেয়ারের কবিতাও পড়েছেন, এবং সেই কবিতা পাঠের মধ্য দিয়ে মানে একেবারে মূল ফরাসি ভাষায় লেখা কবিতা, যেটা বোদলেয়ার নিজে লিখেছেন, সেই ভাষা আমি নিশ্চয়ই মনে করি এখন আর ওইভাবে হয়তো বলা হয় না, কারণ 200 বছর আগের ফরাসি ভাষা এখন অনেক বদলে যাওয়ার কথা। কিন্তু তারপরেও তার মধ্যে যে ক্লাসিক একটা দার্ঢ্য বা ক্লাসিক যে একটা সংযম এবং একই সঙ্গে সঙ্গে যে গঠন, সেই ক্লাসিক্যাল গঠনটা কিন্তু পাওয়া যায়, ক্লাসিক গঠনটা পাওয়া যায়, ধ্রুপদী গঠনটা পাওয়া যায় বোদলেয়ারের কবিতায়। এবং এটা তো আমরা জানি যে তিনি শুধু কবিতায় লেখেননি, তিনি ফরাসি ভাষাকেও একটা উচ্চতায় পৌঁছে দিয়েছিলেন। তো আমি আমার কাছে বোদলেয়ারের ওপর বুদ্ধদেব বসুর যে অনুদিত যে বইটি সেটা আছে, আপনি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন, আমি আপনাকে দেখাচ্ছি কাভারটা, এবং এটা বোদলেয়ারের উপর বাংলা ভাষায় লেখা বই, এবং প্রথম এই বইটি বলা যেতে পারে যে বোদলেয়ারের অনুবাদ আমাদের কাছে পৌঁছায় বাংলা ভাষার ভাষাভাষী পাঠকদের কাছে। বোদলেয়ারের কথা কবি হিসেবে এবং একজন মহৎ কবি হিসেবে আমাদের কাছে কিন্তু পৌঁছায়, অর্থাৎ বাংলা ভাষাভাষী পাঠকদের কাছে পৌঁছায়, এবং সেটা হচ্ছে 1961 সালের কথা। সেই 1961 সালে প্রথম এই বইটি অনুদিত বইটি প্রকাশিত হয়। এবং আপনারা এও জানেন যে বুদ্ধদেব বসু আমাদের 30-এর অন্যতম একজন প্রধান কবি, এবং এই বোদলেয়ারের সূত্রেই, তার অনুবাদের সূত্রে, তার বইয়ের এই গ্রন্থের সূত্রেই আমরা কিন্তু বোদলেয়ার কেমন কবি সেটা শুধু জেনেছি তা নয়, পরবর্তীকালে গবেষকরা দেখেছেন। আমি নিজেও বাংলা কবিতার উপর গবেষণা করেছি, বাংলাদেশের কবিতা এবং পশ্চিমবাংলার কবিতার তুলনামূলক বিশ্লেষণ ছিল আমার পিএইচডি গবেষণার বিষয়। বাংলাদেশের কবিতা এবং পশ্চিমবাংলার কবিতার তুলনামূলক বিশ্লেষণ আমি করেছি, এবং সেই কাজের সময় আমি দেখেছি যে আমাদের কবিরা এবং মানে বাংলাদেশের বাঙালি কবিরা এবং সীমান্তের ওপারের কবিরা, তারা সবাই প্রায় যারা কবিতা লেখেন তারা সবাই কিন্তু বোদলেয়ারের নাম শুধু জানেন তাই না, তার লেখাও পড়েছেন, তার কবিতাও পড়েছেন, অনুবাদে অবশ্যই বেশিরভাগ কবিতা পড়েছেন বা পাঠকও পড়েছেন, এবং সেটা বুদ্ধদেব বসুর এই অনুদিত গ্রন্থটাই তারা কিন্তু অনুসরণ করেছেন। এবং আমি এই বুদ্ধদেব বসুর বইয়ের ভূমিকা থেকে কিছু অংশ আপনাদেরকে পড়ে শোনাই। আপনাদের অনেকেরই জানা আছে, অনেকেরই পড়া আছে, কিন্তু তারপরে বলতে চাই। So, Marilyne, do you know that here the book really is a very important book in Bengali literature. It has been published in 1961, not now. You can imagine that how long before. It has been translated and also published from Bangladesh. In fact, from Indian part of Bengal part, it has been published from there. And the poet who translated, he is also a very famous poet of 1930s, a Bengali poet of 1930s, and his name is Buddhadev Bosu. I'm just reading some part from his introduction of the translated book. But you will not understand, but my viewers will can follow me easily. So, আমি আপনাদেরকে এই ভূমিকার অংশ কিছুটা পড়ি, তাহলে আপনারা আবার মনে করতে পারবেন যে বুদ্ধদেব বসু কিভাবে কতটা উচ্ছ্বসিত ছিলেন এবং কোথায় গুরুত্বপূর্ণ কবি বোদলেয়ার। এই 200 তার আজকে 200 হচ্ছে 1821 সালেই তিনি জন্মগ্রহণ করেছিলেন ফ্রান্সে, আর আজকে হচ্ছে 2021 সাল, অর্থাৎ 200 কিন্তু আমরা পালন করছি তার জন্মের। তিনি লিখছেন, বুদ্ধদেব বসু এই ভূমিকার শিরোনামও দিয়েছেন একটা, শার্ল বোদলেয়ার ও আধুনিক কবিতা, শার্ল বোদলেয়ার and the modern poetry. This is the title of this introduction. প্রথম দ্রষ্টা তিনি, কবিদের রাজা, এক সত্য দেবতা। কথাগুলো লিখেছিলেন শতবর্ষের ব্যবধানে, কোনো পুস্তক পীড়িত পৌঢ় পণ্ডিত নন। তার মৃত্যুর মাত্র 4 বছর পরে এক অজাত শ্বশ্রু যুবক, তারই অব্যবহিত পরবর্তী এক কবি, আর্তুর র্যাবো। Räbo, in fact, praised Baudelaire in many ways, and he thought, Räbo mone korechen, the Baudelaire is the first modern poet of modern times. And Baudelaire, Räbo, in fact, tried to follow the way of Baudelaire when he was just started to write poetry. এবং he told that he is the king of the poets. In fact, if I just translate, it may be in a bad translation, but if I say like this way, that the Baudelaire is the king of the poets. Yes, really it is. আমরা জানি যে সেরকমই কবি তিনি। তো বুদ্ধদেব বসু আরো লিখছেন, এক জায়গায় লিখছেন, আমরা অনুভব করি যে বোদলেয়ারের চিন্ময় সত্তা হেমন্তের ঝোড়ো হাওয়ার মতো বয়ে চলেছে এই যৌবন কুঞ্জের উপর দিয়ে, কুড়ি ঝরিয়ে, বীজ ছড়িয়ে, ফুল ঝরিয়ে, বীজ ছড়িয়ে, মরা পাতার মতো মরা ভাবনাগুলিকে উড়িয়ে দিয়ে কয়েকটি অকালপক্ষ রক্তিম ফল ফলিয়ে তুলছে। অদৃশ্যকে দেখতে হবে, অদৃশ্যকে দেখতে হবে, অশ্রুতকে শুনতে হবে, ইন্দ্রিয় সমূহের বিপুল ও সচেতন বিপর্যয় সাধনের দ্বারা পৌঁছতে হবে অজানায়। বোদলেয়ার বলছেন, জানতে হবে প্রেমের, দুঃখের, উন্মাদনার সবগুলি প্রকরণ, খুঁজতে হবে নিজেকে, সব গড়ল আত্মসাৎ করে নিতে হবে, পেতে হবে অকথ্য যন্ত্রণা, অলৌকিক শক্তি, হতে হবে মহারোগী, মহাদুর্জন, পরম নারকীয়, জ্ঞানীর শিরোমণি, আর এমনি করে অজানায় পৌঁছানো। এই হচ্ছে বুদ্ধদেব বসুর ভূমিকায় বোদলেয়ারের মূল্যায়ন, যে তিনিই প্রথম কবি যিনি নারকীয়, যন্ত্রণাদায়ক এবং বিপর্যয় সাধন করে আমাদের ইন্দ্রিয়ের অথবা আমাদেরকে পরম সংকটে ফেলে দেয় সেই রকম অনুভূতিকে, সেই রকম বিষয়কে বোদলেয়ারই প্রথম কবিতায় স্থান দিয়েছিলেন। কারণ তার আগে আমরা জানি যে রোম্যান্টিক পোয়েট্রি এসছেন, এবং রোম্যান্টিক কবিদের যে বৈশিষ্ট্য সেটা হচ্ছে তাদের মধ্যে ছিল এক ধরনের সিরিনিটি, এক ধরনের শান্ত পেলব ব্যাপার। কিন্তু বোদলেয়ার প্রথম এসে বুঝিয়ে দিলেন যে এই যে নগর জীবন এবং যে জীবনের মধ্যে আমরা আছি তা কতটা নারকীয়, নগরের নারকীয় জীবন, সেই জীবনের কথাই কিন্তু তুলে ধরেছেন বোদলেয়ার তার কবিতায়, এবং তার জীবন যাপনও ছিল সেই রকম। তিনি বলা যেতে পারে যে নানা ধরনের জীবনকে নিয়ে নানা ব্যাখ্যা করেছেন, তার জীবনের বিপর্যয় ঘটেছে, অনেক নানা ধরনের বিপর্যয় আছে। তার মধ্যে সবচেয়ে বড় বিপর্যয় হচ্ছে তার বাবার মৃত্যুর পরে মায়ের বিয়ে, এবং সেই বিয়ের পরে তার সেই পিতার সঙ্গে সম্পর্ক খুব ভালো যায়নি বোদলেয়ারের। সেই সব কারণে তিনি কিন্তু একেবারেই গৃহচ্যুতই ছিলেন, কখনোই সেই অর্থে গৃহবাসী বলা যাবে না, তাকে ছিল না। এবং তার যে অভিজ্ঞতাটা একেবারেই সেকালের মানুষের, ব্রাত্যজনের অভিজ্ঞতা, ব্রাত্য মানুষের অভিজ্ঞতা বা নিম্ন বর্গের মানুষের যে অভিজ্ঞতা, এই প্যারিসের রাস্তায় তিনি ঘুরে বেরিয়েছেন। তারপরে তার জীবন যাপনের মধ্যে একটু বলা যেতে পারে যে নানা ধরনের পরীক্ষা নিরীক্ষাও তিনি করেছেন জীবনকে নিয়ে। তো সেই ব্যাপারগুলি কিন্তু আমরা দেখতে পাই বোদলেয়ারের মধ্যে। তো আমি আর কথা না বাড়াই, বরং আমাদের অনেক বিদেশি কবি উপস্থিত আছেন, তাদের কবিতা শুনি। তারা কিন্তু যেটা বলছি সেটা হচ্ছে তারা নিজেরা বোদলেয়ারের কবিতা, সবাই তো ফরাসি জানেন না, তারা ইংরেজি থেকে অনুবাদ করেছেন। বিভিন্ন দেশের, অন্য দেশের কবিরা বোদলেয়ারের কবিতা ইংরেজি অনুবাদ থেকে তাদের নিজেদের ভাষায় অনুবাদ করেছেন, এবং সেই অনুবাদগুলি তারা পড়বেন। কেউ কেউ তাদের ভাষায় অনুদিত অন্যদের অনুদিত কবিতাও পড়বেন, অর্থাৎ নিজে অনুবাদ করেননি কিন্তু তার ভাষায় অন্য কোনো কবি অনুবাদ করেছেন, সেই অনুবাদ তারা পড়বেন। তো আমি যাচ্ছি নাও, জাস্ট আই ওয়ান্ট টু গো টু Duta. I'm thinking that your connection is not well. You are just, sometimes you are coming and suddenly you are going off. So for that reason, I just ask you to read the translation of Baudelaire, and at the same time, I'll just request you to read your poems. But before that, I want to introduce you to our viewers. So I'm asking Duta to just read the translation of Baudelaire's poem and his poem. But before that, I am introducing him to my viewers. The dear viewers, Mircea dan Duta, and he is from Romania. He's a poet, film scientist, and also translator. At the same time, he is editing some cultural magazines. He writes in Czech, though he is a Romanian. He published 3 poetry books. Now is preparing for another 2 books. He's a renowned translator, already have mentioned, and he translates into Czech from Slovak, Romanian, Polish, Bulgarian, English, or French poetry. She translates into Czech. His works also have been translated in many languages, and from USA, France, United Kingdom, Spain, Poland, Bulgaria, Israel, Serbia, Romania, and such and so from so many countries. And he's also, in fact, his poetry also have been included in many anthologies. So now, Mircea dan Duta from Romania, he will read one translation of Baudelaire's poem. I think that in Czech language, it is translated into Czech
Romanian
language. Oh, not Czech, but you prefer to write in Czech. Okay, Romanian. So he is going to read one of the Baudelaire's poems in Romanian language. It is translated into Romanian language. And Duta will read it. And I will ask Duta to read also the English translation so that we can follow. But if you don't have the English translation, then skip it. Okay? So please.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored. I'm privileged to be here in this very special circle of poets. It is very kind from your part to inviting me. I want to say that what I'm doing in the field of poetry is little towards what all of you or each of you are doing in your own countries, in your own languages. I would like to match your level as poets, as translators, and I want to express my gratitude and my admiration for each of you and for your beautiful association of world writers, and for what you are doing for poetry and for its sake. Now, I will read a poem I love very much by Baudelaire. It is called "The Cat." So, first of all, the English translation, which I think is very good, by Edward Erickson, made. The cat. Snuggle on my chest, my pretty beast. Hold in your claws, allow my eyes on yours metallically green, their feast of wonderment and calm surprise. My fingers gently, leisurely now swerve along your back, relaxed in fur. Electric now the thrill of your sleek curve, and peace resounding in your core. I see my lady here, my lovely pet, within that gaze seductive cold, ambiguous and yet so subtly bold. I think her softness hides some threat. As brown as earth, her flesh exudes a doom, a sweet but dangerous perfume. And dear Masood, if you allow me, before reading the Romanian translation, please, would it be possible to read the French original? Can I?
Yes, if you can read. I'm very happy that you know French language. So yes, of course. Go ahead, please.
It's a wonderful poem. A wonderful poem.
Yes.
in not only in translations but especially in French.
Okay,
Le
please
chat.
read the English, read the original French poem.
Thank you very much. Le chat. Viens, mon beau chat, sur mon cœur amoureux, retiens les griffes de ta patte, et laisse-moi plonger dans tes beaux yeux, mêlés de métal et d'agate. Lorsque mes doigts caressent à loisir ta tête et ton dos élastique, et que ta main s'enivre de plaisir de palper ton corps électrique, je vois ma femme en esprit, son regard, comme le tien, aimable bête, profond et froid, coupe et fond comme un dard, et des pieds jusqu'à la tête, un air subtil, un dangereux parfum, nage autour de son corps brun. Of course, the English translations from Baudelaire are very good, but nothing compares with the original. And now, please allow me my modest contribution with the Romanian translation.
Just a minute, Duta. Just a minute, Duta. I want to say something in Bangla to my viewers. Just a minute. Just wait. প্রিয় দর্শক যারা দেখছেন, বাংলা ভাষার যারা যে দর্শকরা দেখছেন তারা দেখলেন যে এই মার্সি অ্যান্ড ডুটা রোমানিয়ার কবি, তিনি ফরাসি ভাষায় মূল কবিতাটি পড়লেন এবং এখন রোমানীয় ভাষায় অনুদিত কবিতাটা পড়বেন। ওকে, প্লিজ ডুটা, read the Romanian translation.
Thank you very much. Pisică, vin la pieptul iubitor, ascunde gheara ta în perna moale și lasă-mă să mă scufund ușor în ochii tăi metale și agate și metale. Pe spatele elastic când petrec, ușoară mâna ta în mângâiere și când din trupi fiori electrici trec și mă îmbată, iată, de plăcere, îmi văd în gând femeia, ochii ei, frumoși ca și ai tăi, o dulce fiară, te spică tot și împiedică și împrăștie scântei, atât înăuntru precum și afară, parfumul brun, parfumul cel maro, în ochii ei ce întorc mereu se îndreaptă, frumoasa mea, te aștept aici din nou, precum la fel toți ce iubesc te așteaptă. Pisică ești, femeie, comitent, dar eu la tel voi fi acum prezent. So this is the Romanian translation. One of the Romanian translations. It has Baudelaire. He has been translated in many variants into Romanian, as Romanian poetry in the 19th century was strongly influenced by the French one, and therefore, especially the musicality, the rhythm, and the very original rhymes of Baudelaire's poems influenced a lot, especially on the so-called Romanian symbolists, instrumentalists. It was actually among the Romanian literature one of the strongest movements in the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, the instrumentalism, which also was influenced by the corresponding French movement. What's interesting is that the Czech symbolism was purely obsessed by Baudelaire, but given the differences between those two languages and between the grammar structures, it was very difficult to translate Baudelaire or any other French symbolist into Czech. Therefore, the Czech symbolists created a kind of specifically Czech symbolism and reinvented the poems of their French colleagues in their way. But there's no time now to talk about it. Only I wanted to mention that it was actually a very special fascination by Baudelaire in the whole Central Europe, and especially within the Czech poetry. Now, if it
okay, please read your poem. I want to listen to that. Okay, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So I read the poem I prepared for today is actually a trilogy called the Polish Trilogy. I will read it first in English and then in the original Czech. The Polish Trilogy. 1. Cannibals. I fed on you for as long as there was something left to eat. In fact, I somehow sensed you would not be here for long. Now they are eating out of me, and I have to be glad of it. For as long as there is food for them, it means I'm still here. But you can no longer be aware of this. The second part, called Will. You will take her from me. You will take it from me. You will take everything from me. In the end, I won't have anything left but you, and I will still have to keep begging to remain a part of what will be yours. And the third part of the trilogy, Wave. I was coming out of Tesco's, and I saw her. She was as beautiful as ever. I waved at her and called her name. Cześć, Kasia! But she kept going. Maybe she didn't see me, didn't hear me, or didn't understand me. Or maybe they just don't speak Polish on that end. And now the Czech original, Polská trilogie. Hanibalové, jedl jsem z tebe, dokud bylo co. Nějak jsem totiž tušil, že brzy to už nebudeš. Teď ze mě jedí oni a musím z toho mít radost. Totiž dokud je co jíst, znamená to, že jsem ještě tu. Ale to už ty vědět nemůžeš. Vůle. Ty mi vezmeš. Ty mi to vezmeš. Ty mi všechno vezmeš. Nakonec už nebudu mít nic, jenom tebe. A budu se ještě doprošovat, abych byl částí toho, co budeš mít ty. For the third part, Vlna. Vyšel jsem z Teska a viděl jsem ji za mostem. Byla stejně krásná jako tehdy. Mával jsem na ní a volal Češ, Kasia, ale šla dál. Možná, že mě neviděla, neslyšela, nebo mi nerozuměla, anebo možná, že se prostě nemluví polsky na tomto konci. Thank you very much once again. It was an honor for me to be your guest. All the best.
আপনারা প্রিয় দর্শক যারা বাংলায় দেখছেন, বাংলা ভাষাভাষী যে দর্শকরা দেখছেন, তাদেরকে বলি যে এতক্ষণ কবিতা পড়লেন, প্রথমে বদলেয়ারের কবিতা পড়লেন মার্সি অ্যান্ড ডুটা, ফরাসি ভাষা পড়লেন, ইংরেজি অনুবাদটা পড়লেন এবং রোমানিয়ান অনুবাদ পড়লেন। তারপরে তার নিজের কবিতা পড়লেন, সেটা প্রথমে রোমানীয় ভাষায় লেখা কবিতাটা পড়লেন, তারপরে তার অনুবাদটা পড়লেন ইংরেজিতে। তো থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ ডুটা। নাও জাস্ট আই ওয়ান্ট টু গো টু জুলিয়া because she has some urgent work. For that reason I'm just going to her, Julia Pikalova. And before going to her, I just want to introduce her to our viewers. The Julia Pikalova is a Russian poet, but now at the moment living in Italy. And she born in Moscow and graduated from St. Petersburg University in philology. And from California State University, she got the master's degree in business administration. She has made a successful career in major international companies and has worked in many countries. Pikalova started writing about 7 years ago. Her poetry has published in the magazines of Russian literature from Canada to Far East and is recited on stage by Moscow school children. Oh, that's good. That means she is also a performer of poetry. In December 2020, her book, the name of it is The First, with 500 poems, premiered in Moscow A bilingual book is now underway with the translation of her poetry into Italian. Pikalova lives in Italy. I have already mentioned this. So Pikalova, her career is only maybe for 7 years, but she's a very good poet from Italy. Okay, Pikalova, go ahead with the Baudelaire's. Just first you read the Baudelaire's translation.
Of course.
And then you read your poems with the English translation.
Sure. Thank you, Maksud, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. So I'm Julia Pikalova, a Russian poet from Italy. And I will start, as Maksud suggested, from the poem of Baudelaire. I have chosen the poem which is called The Death of the Poor. Baudelaire shows death as a liberation from the earthly burden and even a blessing. In his poem, he would call the death an angel, for example. I will then read my own poem, a short variation of the same theme. Baudelaire is translated by very famous Russian poets like Tsvetaeva, Aninsky, Gumilev. I will read the translation of Ellis, the Russian poet whose real name was Kobylinsky, who emigrated from Russia and died in 1947 in Switzerland. If there are Russian people listening to us, I would like to make a remark. I have made a small change in the first verse of the translation because Baudelaire uses the word death only once in the very beginning of the poem, while the interpreter used the word death all over the poem. So I made a small correction to his, I brought his translation closer to the original. Okay, so now I will read it in Russian first. The Death of the Poor, about the death as a revelation, as a liberation. Смерть бедняков. Перевод Эллиса. Лишь смерть утешит нас и к жизни вновь пробудет. Она — надежда тем, кто наг и нищ и сир. Она до вечера руководить нас будет и в нашу грудь вольет свой сладкий эликсир. В холодном инее и в снежном урагане на горизонте мрак лишь твой прорежет свет. Смерть, ты гостиница, что нам сдана заранее, где всех усталых ждет и ложе, и обед. Ты ангел, чудный дар экстазов, сновидений, ты в магнетических перстах ко всем несешь. Ты оправляешь одр нагим, как добрый гений. Святая житница, ты всех равно сберешь. Отчизна древняя и портик ты чудесный, ведущий бедняка туда, в простор небесный. And because I love the music of the original, which usually disappears in the translation, please allow me to read the last 6 lines in French. I'm not perfect in French at all, so please be merciful, but I cannot resist. I want to share this magic with you as well as I can. So
yes,
the last 6 lines. C'est un ange qui tient dans ses doigts magnétiques le sommeil et le don des rêves extatiques et qui refait le lit des gens pauvres et nus. C'est la gloire de Dieu. C'est le grenier mystique, c'est la bourse du pauvre et sa patrie antique. C'est le portique ouvert sur les cieux inconnus. And now I will read my short poem, first in Russian and then my own translation in English. Не бойтесь, мои друзья. Зачем? Не надо. Поэты продлят края любого взгляда. Вот небо, а вот звезда. Какое чудо! Окажемся там, когда умрем отсюда. And my translation into English. No need for a fright, my friends, no need for a fright. The poets will prolong any eyesight. Here is the sky and the star, how very dear. We'll get there when we'll die from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julia. I know that you will say goodbye to us because you need to work over there. So,
Yes, but I promise I will view the recording of the event tomorrow on YouTube. Thank you very much for making this.
But just a minute. I want to read the Bengali translation of the Baudelaire's poem, which you have just read it. I want to just one stanza, a first stanza, if you just listen to, and then in Bangla, it has been also translated. So I'm just reading it. প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনাদেরকে বলি যে যে কবিতাটি বদলেয়ারের যে কবিতাটি জুলিয়া পড়লেন, সেই কবিতাটি বাংলাতে অনুবাদ করেছেন বুদ্ধদেব বসু। আর জুলিয়া যেটা পড়লেন সেটা রাশিয়ান অনুবাদ, এবং মূল কবিতার প্রথম শেষ স্তবকটাও তিনি পড়েছেন। আমি সেই কবিতাটা পড়ছি, ছোট্ট কবিতা, বেশি বড় নয়। গরিবের মৃত্যু, মৃত্যু ইহায় সান্ত্বনা, সেই বাঁচিয়ে রাখে। আয়ুর লক্ষ্য, সে ছাড়া ভরসা নেই কিছুই। সেই কড়া মদ, ভরপুর যার নেশায় ঝোঁকে, বুক বেঁধে চলি, যাবৎ সাঁঝের ছায়া না ছুঁই। পুঁথির পাতায় নামজাদা সেই সরাইখানা, কালো দিগন্তে কাঁপে আমার আলোর ফোঁটা। পেট পুড়ে খেয়ে ঘুম দিতে নেই যেথায় মানা, হিমশিলা ঝড় পেরিয়ে কেবলই সেদিকে ছোটা। সেই দেবদূত যার হাতে মায়া মন্ত্র জানে, ঘন ঘুম আর স্বর্গ সুখের স্বপ্ন আনে। নাগা ভিক্ষুকে সেচ পেতে দেয় চমৎকার, গোলা ভরা ধান ভগবান যার রাখেন চাবি। গরিবের থলি বাস্তবিটায় আদিম দাবি, না জানা আকাশে এগিয়ে দেয় যে সিংহদ্বার। It is a little rhythmic in Bengali. The translator did this. So, okay, thank you very much, Julia, for your participation. I am congratulating you and hope that next time we'll get you.
Thank you, Mark. Good continuation. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So, আপনারা শুনলেন যে জুলিয়া কবিতা পড়লেন, আমি তার অনুবাদটা পড়লাম। একই কবিতা রুশ ভাষায় অনুদিত হয়েছে এবং বাংলা ভাষায় অনুদিত হয়েছে, আপনারা শুনলেন। তো আমি আরেকটা কবিতা একটু পড়ি, যেটা বদলেয়ারের একটা বিখ্যাত কবিতা। তবে সেই কবিতাটা পড়ার আগে আরেকটা কবিতা আছে যেটা খুবই সুন্দর, কিন্তু একটু বড়, আমি ততটা পড়বো কিনা বুঝতে পারছি না। যাই হোক, পড়ি। আপনারা জানেন যে বিতৃষ্ণা, প্রেমে বিতৃষ্ণা, জীবন বিতৃষ্ণা এবং জীবন বিমুখতা, জীবনকে একেবারে ছেনে নানাভাবে দুমড়ে মুচড়ে দেখা, তো এই কাজগুলি কিন্তু বদলেয়ার করেছেন। তার কবিতায় তিনি জীবনকে নানাভাবে দেখেছেন, এবং সেই দেখাটা কিন্তু কোনো সুন্দরভাবে দেখা নয়। তার মধ্যে আছে বিবমিশা, আছে যন্ত্রণা, আছে ক্ষোভ, আছে বিতৃষ্ণা। এই বিতৃষ্ণার ব্যাপারটি তো কবিতার মধ্যে, আধুনিক কবিতায় বদলেয়ারই সূচনা ঘটিয়েছিলেন। তা আমি সেই কবিতাটা পড়ি, যে কবিতাটা প্রেমের কবিতা, এবং প্রেমের ক্ষেত্রেও আমি বলবো যে আমি I'm not seeing Marilyne and Gili. I don't know what happened to them. Marilyne is not here, but I got Gili. ওকে, আমি যেটা বলছিলাম আপনাদেরকে, যে বদলেয়ারের একটা কবিতা আছে, যে কবিতাটা মানে অনেকে বলে থাকেন যে বদলেয়ার প্রেমের কবিতা লিখতে গিয়েও তিনি কিন্তু প্রেমকে সরলভাবে দেখেননি, সেখানে যন্ত্রণাকেই উপলব্ধি করেছেন বেশি। এবং ইশারুড, একজন ব্রিটিশ কবি, তিনি তো বলেই দিয়েছেন যে বদলেয়ারের যে প্রেমের কবিতা, সেই প্রেমের কবিতার মধ্যে আসলে প্রেম যতটা আছে তার চেয়ে বেশি আছে তার যন্ত্রণার কথা এবং এক ধরনের বিবমিশা। এবং ইশারুড হচ্ছেন ব্রিটিশ কবি, তিনি এই কথাটা বলেছেন তার একটা লেখায়। এবং আরেকটি ব্যাপার ছিল যে বদলেয়ারের বলা হয় যে তিনি গণিকা পল্লীতে ঘুরেছেন, এবং পতিতাপল্লীতে গিয়ে সেই সমস্ত নারীর মধ্যে কিন্তু তিনি খুঁজেছেন সুন্দরকে। এই ব্যাপারটিও কিন্তু বোদলেয়ারের মধ্যে আমরা লক্ষ্য করি যে তিনি যে সমস্ত নারীরা ব্রাত্য ছিল, যারা অপাঙ্ক্তেয়, যারা নিগৃহীত হয়েছে, যে নারীরা, তাদের কাছে তিনি গেছেন এক ধরনের মমত্ব বোধ নিয়ে, এক ধরনের মানবিক বোধ নিয়ে, এবং তাদেরকে উপলব্ধি করেছেন এবং তাদের কথা কবিতায় এনেছেন। তো এরকমই একটি কবিতা আমি পড়ি। কবিতাটি নারী কেন্দ্রিক কবিতা, কিন্তু একটু অন্যরকম কবিতা। পরবর্তীকালে দেখা যাবে যে আধুনিক কবিরা এই নারীদেরকে যখন নানাভাবে তাদেরকে যখন কবিতায় তুলে ধরেছেন, তখন এই রকম ছবি তারা বেশিরভাগ ক্ষেত্রে তুলে ধরেছেন বা কবিতায় এনেছেন। কি যে ভালোবাসি প্রেয়সী তোমার তনু বিতান, অলস অঙ্গ চালনে মনোহর ত্বক রেশমের মতো কম্পমান রশ্মির প্রতিফলনে, সাগরের মতো গভীর সুরভি তোমার চুলে, যেখানে অনবরত নীল পাটকেল ঢেউ জেগে ওঠে বাউন্ডুলে তিক্ত স্মৃতির মতো, সেখানে আমার স্বপ্নে আতুর আত্মা ভোরের হাওয়ার টানে জাহাজের মতো জেগে উঠে করে যাত্রা সুদূরের সন্ধানে। অম্ল মধুর কিছুই বলে না চোখের খনি, কেবল অতল নেশা জ্বলে যায় যেন ঠান্ডা কঠিন যুগল মণি, লোহায় সোনায় মেশা। অথচ বিলোল রূপসী কথার অজস্রতা, তোমার চলার ছন্দে যেন সুন্দর সাপিনী সোহাগে নৃত্যরতা, অদ্ভুত জাদু মন্ত্রে। শৈশবে ভরা মন্থর ওই ছোট মাথায় ভাবনার তারতম্য, তরুণ হাতির মদির কোমল শিথিলতায় খুঁজে পায় ভারসাম্য, এবং তোমার তনুর মধুর আন্দোলনে তন্নি তরণী চলে, গোলই ডুবিয়ে ঋজু বঙ্কিম আবর্তনে ঘূর্ণি কুটির জলে। দর গলমান গ্লেসিয়ারে জাগে কম্পন, তরঙ্গে বেগ আনতে, তেমনি তোমারও উঠে আসে যবে নিষ্ঠিবন ফেনিলোদ্নাতের প্রান্তে। মনে হয় আমি পান করি কোনো বহিমিয়ার তীব্র বিজয়ী মদ্য, মনে হয় আমি পান করি কোনো বোহেমিয়ার তীব্র বিজয়ী মদ্য, তরল আকাশে লক্ষ তারার অন্ধকার অথবা হৃদয়ে লব্ধ। এই যে একটা জায়গায় আপনার লক্ষ্য করুন, তিনি বলছেন যে মনে হয় আমি পান করি কোনো বহিমিয়ার তীব্র বিজয়ী মদ্য। এই যে বহিমিয়ান জীবন, কবিদের যে জীবনের বিমুখতা, এবং আধুনিক কবিদের মধ্যে যে বহিমিয়ান ব্যাপারটি দেখা যায় পরবর্তীকালে, তার সূচনাও কিন্তু বোদলেয়ারের মধ্যে কবিতায় এবং জীবনযাপনে দুদিকে থেকেই আমরা পেয়েছি। তো now just I got Marilyne,
Yeah.
Your connection is very unstable. I can guess it that today, but no problem. And also Gili, I'm just getting her and also losing her. The connection problem. I don't know what is happening tonight. প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনারা শুনছেন যে বোদলেয়ারকে নিয়ে আমরা আলোচনা করছি। তো একটা বৈশিষ্ট্য কিন্তু আমি আবারও বললাম যে বহিমিয়ান জীবনযাপনের প্রতি যে আকর্ষণ, সেটা কিন্তু কবিদের মধ্যে দেখা যায়, এবং সেটা কিন্তু সূচনা হয়েছে বোদলেয়ারের মধ্যে, এবং পরবর্তীকালে সেটা চূড়ান্তভাবে আমরা দেখি র্যাবোর মধ্যে। তো ওর জীবন নিয়ে আলোচনা করতে পারলে আরো ভালো হবে, কিন্তু আমি মাঝে মাঝে বলবো, সব কথা তো আর ওইভাবে বলা যাবে না বোদলেয়ারের জীবন সম্পর্কে, তবে কিছু কিছু কথা উল্লেখ করছি আমি। তো নাও জাস্ট আই ওয়ান্ট টু গো টু Isaac. I cannot see you. You are already in the dark. Why? You change your position, please. I cannot see you. Nobody can see you. You are already late, but we are not seeing you even. Okay. The poets should be very careful. Isaac, you should be.
Yes.
Sir, please put some light on your face.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Sure.
just
Sure.
Lambert,
Thank
I
you.
will just go to you later because you are the only French poet now at the moment with us. So I will not go to you now.
No,
So
no.
now just I can go to Gili. You are there. So
Ah.
Gili, your connection is also giving some trouble.
I have problems, but
Yes.
I'm with you.
Yeah, now it is okay. But please sit in the middle of the. Yes, now I can.
I changed 3 devices by now. So,
Oh my God.
yeah. Okay, is
So
that
the
better now?
viewers, you can understand that Gili, for the problem of the connection, she has already changed 3 devices to connect us. Okay, thank you very much, Gili. So now you, for the connection problem, I want to go to you. So before that, I want to introduce you to our viewers. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা এখন যাব গিলি হাইমোভিচের কাছে। গিলি হাইমোভিচ একজন ইসরায়েলের কবি, কিন্তু খুবই চমৎকার কবিতা লেখেন। বেশ কিছু আন্তর্জাতিক পুরস্কারের মধ্যে কিন্তু গিলি পেয়েছেন এবং খুবই অ্যাক্টিভ। শি ইজ আ ভেরি অ্যাক্টিভ পোয়েট। So far, I just followed her. So now I'm just introducing her, and she is a bilingual Israeli poet and a translator with a Canadian background. That means she is a bilingual poet of Hebrew and English. She is the author of 10 poetry books, 3 in English and 6 in Hebrews. আপনারা জানেন যে Hebrew is one of the just oldest languages and very classic language. So she writes in Hebrew, and many multilingual books she has already published, and one of the book is it is called Note. Note is a multilingual book of her. Her most recent books are the volume Promised Lands. It has been published just in 2020, and the collection of Lullaby in 2021. She won the international Italian poetry competitions and also other prizes she got, and she got a grant for writing excellent poetry by the Ministry of Culture of Israel. Her poems also have been translated into many languages, almost about 30 languages. And she has also participated in many festivals, and her poems have been included in many journals or magazines, literary magazines. So it will take a long time if I just want to mention everything. So now I'm skipping, but what I want to say that Gili is a very good poet and from Israel, and she's a very active poet, active translator, and active participants. So please, Gili, now you read first the Baudelaire's translation and then your poems. So প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনাদেরকে বলি, গিলি হাইমোভিচ ইসরায়েলের কবি, লেখেন একই সঙ্গে ইংরেজিতে এবং হিব্রু ভাষায়। হিব্রু একটা প্রাচীনতম ভাষা এবং সেমিটিক ভাষা, খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ একটি ভাষা। সেই ভাষায় লেখেন। গিলি এখন তার বদলেয়ারের হিব্রু অনুবাদ পড়বেন এবং তারপর তার নিজের কবিতা পড়বেন হিব্রু অনুবাদে এবং আমাদেরকে শোনাবেন ইংরেজি অনুবাদে। Okay, go ahead, Gili, now.
So first of all, I want to thank you, Masoud, very much. I think one of the first international events you had online was with me and with Marilyne, and I cherish you for that so much and for all you do and to come here again and celebrate Baudelaire. This is really wonderful. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to honor another Israeli poet, a seminal poet who had translated Baudelaire. His name is Meir Wieselter. And
please, Gili, would you please come a little forward, a little
sure.
in front, if you come closer? Yes. Yes, it is okay now. Okay.
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to see my chin. You'll be okay. So I translate from English to Hebrew and vice versa. But I have this book by one of Israel's most seminal poets, Meir Wieselter. And this book is almost as old as I am. When I was in high school, I borrowed this book from a friend of mine. It belonged to her parents because no one at our age read Baudelaire. And I just never returned it, at least not up until now, more than 30 years ago. And it was Baudelaire's translations that touched me the most. He has selections of different poets here that he chose, and he chose to translate them as a poet himself. So this was very cherishable for me and still is. And he said that his translations are imperfect, but they are his and through his connection. And I related so much to Marilyne saying that Baudelaire is like David Bowie or Lou Reed, because this is the music I used to hear back then at 17 years old, and I still do. And I think that was one of the connections that I made to Baudelaire, because he could just write about the street, but sculpture this street into his own emotional needs. And I think this was the connection to him. And I think his language is really like a material more than something that is intangible. So you would like me though to read the English as well, Masoud? Don't make me do that, okay? Can I do just the Hebrew and tell you which one I'm reading? Okay? Because I'm going to read from Spleen. I'm going to read the second poem when he speaks about how old he is, and he uses all furniture and things around him to describe it, okay? So I want to just enjoy the sounds of this beautiful Hebrew. אני כבר בן 1000 מרוב זיכרונות, ארון מגרון, גמלוני מגובב חשבונות, שירים, שטרי חוב, מכתבי אהבה, קבוצות שיער כרוכות בטפסי קבלה, צופן פחות סוד ממוחי הנעצב, פירמידה הוא, מרתף נרחב, בו מתים יש יותר מבקבר אחים. אני בית עלמין שאותו הלבנה תחרים, שבו כמו נוחם שורצת רימה ארוכה, ובלי חסך בעיקרים במתי הדבקה. אני קיטון נושן מלא ורדים כמלים, בו מושלכות בערבוביה אופנות האתמולים, בו ציורי בושה חיוורים לצד גווני פסטל שנוק, שואפים הם בלבד ריחו של בושם לא פקוק. אין ארוך כאורך היממות המשתרכות. את תחת כובד פתיחיהם של השנים המושלגות, לובש השיממון פרי הקהות הנעצבת, עוצם מימדים של נצח ועל מוות. אי לכך אין אתה חומר חי שכמותך, אלא צוק אפוף אב אימה חשיכה, בו שנתו בקצווי מדבר עד מהביל, ספינקס נושן לא נודע, חשוך אל, בלי ציון במפות, ורוחו הנחאה, תשאיר רק לאורה של חמה בשקיעה. So that was the Hebrew Baudelaire. And for my own poem, I would read something of a more our contemporary state of spleen. It was written last Passover or Easter, and unfortunately feels very relevant now with the pandemic going on and letting us having a lot of time to sit in our homes and look at the street and make something of it through our work with language and with poetry. We were a world. We were a world within a flat, with its demons and its fairies too, like in those bubble glasses with snowflakes of polystyrene, shaken by a hidden arm, Like confetti, a virus dropped upon us. Passing lights, faces flickered on our glass panel. Screens became windows, not mirrors, opening on our desktops, together with the opening of spring flowers and Easter. And our girls danced and laughed and cried, but never did they find the words to say what's broken, though at night we all had the same nightmare that from this world will never be awakened. And this is how the Hebrew will go. היינו עולם בתוך דירה על השדים שלו והפיות, כמו בבואת זכוכית עם טיטי שלג מקלקר, יד נעלמה טלטלה את עולמנו, וכמו קונפטי צנח עלינו וירוס. היבבו לנו על הזגוגית, פנים, אורות חולפים, מסכים הפכו לחלונות, לא למראות, שפתחו לנו תגיות על צגי המחשבים עם פרחי אביב שנפתחים ושירי פסח באוויר. כן, כמה שסגורים היינו, הם לא פסקו עלינו, והילדות רקדו אותם, צחקו, בכו, אבל אף פעם לא מצאו מילים למה שנשבר לנו, אבל בלילות כולנו חלמנו את אותם הסיוטים, שמהעולם הזה כבר אף פעם לא נפציע. Thank you very much. We cannot hear you, Masood.
Yes, Mishima. We can't hear you.
Still cannot hear you. We don't hear you, at least I don't hear you, Masood.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gili. And we didn't understand the Hebrew language or anything in Hebrew, but we understood so far the music of your language. That's really wonderful. So thank you very much for reading your poems and the Baudelaire's also. Now I want to say something in Bangla to my viewers. প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনারা যারা দেখছেন, বাংলা ভাষাভাষী দর্শকদের বলছি আমি যে বদলেয়ারের কবিতা কেন গুরুত্বপূর্ণ সেটা কিন্তু আমাদের একটু বোঝার দরকার আছে। যে এই কারণে যে আমরা যারা আধুনিক কবিতার কথা বলি বা আধুনিক কবিতা লেখেন যে কবিরা কিংবা আধুনিক কবিতা ভালোবাসেন যে কবিরা, তারা কোন অর্থে বদলেয়ারের কবিতা ভালোবাসেন, কেন ভালোবাসেন সেই সম্পর্কে। তো once the British poet Christopher Isherwood, he is also a very famous British poet, Christopher Isherwood, and he told that he told about Baudelaire. He wrote, in fact, in an article that a deeply religious man whose blasphemies horrified the Orthodox, an ex-dandy who dressed like a condemned convict. Then the saying of Isherwood is very important, so far I think, about Baudelaire. A philosopher of love who was ill at ease with women. A revolutionary who despised the masses, an aristocrat who loathed the ruling class, a minority of one. He belonged to minority as a poet. Even he has no place in the Parisian aristocratic world, of course. But what he did, that is important. He was a philosopher of love, and he was ill at ease with women. He was not easy with the women, of course, as a poet. And a revolutionary in the sense that he changed the poetic diction. Totally, he has changed at his time. And at the same time, he was a he was belonged to minority class, and what he did, he critically just wanted to. He was very critical to the aristocrats, and for that reason, he is regarded as one of the pioneer modern poet, one of the pioneering modern poets. So okay, আমি আর এই বদলায়ের সম্পর্কে যেটুকু বলছি সেটুকু আপনারা বুঝতেই পারছেন যারা বাংলায় শুনলেন, যে তিনি কিরকম মানে বিতৃষ্ণা নারী সম্পর্কে, কিরকম বিতৃষ্ণা অভিজাত সম্প্রদায় সম্পর্কে, এবং তিনি নিজেও ছিলেন একটা নিম্ন শ্রেণীর মানুষের দলের একজন কবি। তো ফলে অভিজাতদের সমালোচনা করেছেন তীব্রভাবে। আরেকটা ব্যাপার খুব ভালোভাবে উঠে এসছে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে প্যারিস যে শহরটা, সেই যে নাগরিক জীবন, সেটা বদলায়ারের কবিতা আমরা প্রথম পাই। মানে হি ইজ ইন ফ্যাক্ট দ্য ফার্স্ট পোয়েট হু ডিপিক্টেড, who just wrote poems about the city, about the big city of Paris, and that is very important. It seemed to be very important to other poets. So okay, now I just want to go to my guest poet, and now I just Brunhilde, I will come you later. I will just keep you waiting if you never mind, okay? So now I just want to go to Isaac. Okay, Isaac, will you please? Oh.
Yes. Thank you for invite me. Today is my birthday, and Charles Baudelaire the same. And I was very happy to meet all my friends. I wrote a poem to Charles Baudelaire, an ode to Charles Baudelaire. Isaac Cohen, music. The voice of the leaves played on your earth strings. No music sheets, only great passion flying over the road. No guitar, piano, because the wind played on your groveling stomach, sending a message to the world. Look at the poor talented. The music is in his body. The melody is his soul. Maestro, play. Thank you. And now I read in the Hebrew. Ode לכבוד שרל בודלר. יצחק כהן. מוזיקה. הקול של העלים מנגן על מיתרי לבך. אין תווי מוזיקה, רק תשוקה גדולה עפה מעבר לעולם. אין גיטרה, סנטר, בגלל שהרוח מנגנת על מתנחה המקרקרת, שולחת מסר לעולם. הביטו על העני המוכשר. המוזיקה בתוך ליבו. המלודיה היא נפשו. Maestro, again, thank you, and thank to Anna that invite me and help me, and thank to Gili from Israel, and thank you, Sir Isaac.
Hello.
Yes, I'm okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay, some connection problem, but it is okay now.
Oh, connection problems.
אני יודע. אני רוצה לשמוע אותה.
We also thank you, Isaac, and you are a really good poet and prose writer too. I know that you published a book, and you are yes, you like painting too, I think, like Julia Pikalova. And
Well, no problem. I'm back. And
now you are here.
yes, I'm back now. Some connection problem was here also, so I'm sorry. And Isaac, thank you very much. Did you read your poem?
Yes, he read.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Isaac. And I want to introduce him. That Isaac is from Israel. Yes. And he has just published a book, a poetry, The Moment of Silence. And he is a prose writer, also a prose writer, translator, artist, painter. And many of his poems have been published in many anthologies and magazines. So thank you, Isaac. Now just I want to go to our next poet. Maybe Myriam. Myriam, you were late. What happened? I don't know. Maybe some problem was there.
Yes, I with my connection between the phone and
Yeah, I understood that your connection was not good. And also, I'm not, in fact, I scared this. I was in fear that, yes, your connection may not be good. And it happened tonight. Okay, so no problem. And now I want to just ask you to read your poem and read the Baudelaire's poem first, and then your poem. Please, go ahead. And before that, I want to introduce you to our viewers. Just a minute, Myriam. Myriam is from Tunisia, and he is a Tunisian poet. A few hundred poems in French and in English. She writes, in fact, in French and also in Arabic, and sometimes in English.
She
has also
and few in Arabic.
Okay. So she has also published articles in medical journals. She is, in fact, a doctor. And for that reason, she carries the research and at the same time, she writes. So this is not easy to do, in fact. Her poems have been published on many various websites, anthologies, and also in books. The painting is also her passion.
Exactly.
So please, Myriam, now you read the Baudelaire's poem first with the English translation, or no? You will read in French, right?
A poem.
Will you read
Baudelaire in French And it's translated.
And then
And it's
translation? Translation in which language?
in English.
Okay, you go ahead, please.
Okay.
You start, please.
I start with the French one. So, l'albatros. Souvent, pour s'amuser, les hommes d'équipage prennent des albatros, vastes oiseaux de mer, qui suivent un de leurs de voyage, navire glissant sur la mer. Peine les ont-ils blanches, les rois de l'azur, et honteux, laissent piteusement leurs dents blanches comme des avirons et d'eux. Ces voyageurs aimés de cheveux, la guerre si comique et laid. L'un agace son bon de gueule, l'autre filme en pointant un film qui volait. Le poète est semblable se dénuer sur la tempête et marcher. Exilé sur le au milieu des nuées, les ailes de géants de marcher. This is the French version, the original version, and now I will read my in English. The albatross. Often to amuse themselves, crewmen albatrosses, vast birds of the sea, who follow in the companions of the ship sliding on the bitter shanks. No sooner have deposited them on the planet that these things of the sky comes and change. Anxiously at their great white wings, like oars drag beside them. This week, traveler, how fancy and how proud he is. He once so beautiful, how comical he is. One irritates his beak with a mouth burner, the other memes the cripple who flew. The poet is similar to the prince of the cloud, who counts the stones and laughs at the people. Exiled in the middle of the meeting, his giant wings prevent him from walking. Charles Baudelaire. So I read the version and my translation.
Have you finished?
Yes,
Myriam?
yes.
Okay, thank you very much for reading your poems. And now just I want to go to, okay, Isaac already read hers. Now I want to go to Bagli. I'll come to you just after Brunhilde. Brunhilde, now I'm going to Brunhilde, and she is in fact a very good poet from Spain. And I just want to introduce her to my viewers. Brunhilde Ibáñez. Brunhilde Ibáñez. She's from Spain, and she holds a degree in English studies and also in Hispanic studies. Post-graduation diploma she did in social anthropology. As for if I say about her poetry, she has published 2 books, The Gifts of Wind and Profound Animal. In 2018, she won the poetry contest, Women, Voice and Fight. She has taken part in many national and international anthologies and publications, and she has created performances in which she combines poetry and dance. She is currently collaborating in different artistic projects as a poet, storyteller, and speaker on different topics. She also works as a teacher and translator. But what I just want to mention to our viewers, I want to emphasize that she is really a wonderful poet and also a very good performer and translator. And before she came to my another live program on Spanish poets, and she collaborated with me. I'm very grateful to her for generosity and for help. And in future, I have another plan to collaborate with the Spanish poets with the help of Brunhilde and also with the help of Bagli. So, Brunhilde, now please you read what you like and what you did.
Okay. Subhasanda, I think that's the way you say good evening in Bangla or something similar. I know Subhasanda. So thank you very much, Masud, for your words, and thanks to everyone, to all the poets and everyone who is watching this program from all over the world. So I'm very happy to be here. And I wanted to read my absolutely favorite poem by Charles Baudelaire, which I have, I think Lambert wanted to read this poem too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it in English, and hopefully he will read it in French. That we have the original sounds better. I'm just going to do something with it in English, but it's the sound of that poem in French in the original language is pure magic. So hope Lambert that you are going to do me the honor of reading it in French. So I'm going to start with that. So here we go. So invitation to the voyage. My child, my sister, think of the rapture of living together there, of loving at will, of loving till death in the land that is like you. The misty sunlight of those cloudy skies has for my spirit the charms so mysterious of your treacherous eyes shining brightly through their tears. There, all is order and beauty, luxury, peace, and pleasure. Living furniture, polished by the years, will ornament our bedroom. The rarest flowers, mingling their fragrance with the faint scent of amber. The ornate ceilings, the limpid mirrors, the oriental splendor. All would whisper there, secretly to the soul, in its soft native language. There, all is order and beauty, luxury, peace, and pleasure. See, on the canals, those vessels sleeping, their mood is adventurous. It's to satisfy your slightest desire that they come from the ends of the earth. The setting suns adorn the fields, the canals, the whole city with hyacinth and gold. The world falls asleep in a warm glow of light. There, all is order and beauty, luxury, peace, and pleasure. Okay, so that was the poem by Baudelaire, my own. I'm going to read it in Spanish. Let me see, I need to find it. Okay, there's no title. So this poem, I don't really know, it's about war, kind of. And I wrote it based on a poem by another writer. So here we go. Vino primero la muerte empuñando la púrpura y el grito de los hombres. Tras las trincheras yacían hileras de dioses, y sus manos eran mudas y negras, y sus manos escribían la sustancia del llanto. Luego llegó la mujer vestida de agua clara. La mujer es una espada que tiembla ante la imagen de su propio filo, y sus ojos no tienen final. Más tarde llegamos nosotros, bebimos del grito y lo sostuvimos caliente en la garganta. El grito galopaba en la tarde y sus ojos amarillos descendían en torrentes. Nuestras lanzas bramaban ante el enemigo, nuestras lanzas nacían a la sangre en flor, y éramos nosotros, negros y desnudos, el rostro del grito, el otro que nos mira, reflejado en dioses muy pequeños. Pero mañana será lunes y volveremos a firmar la paz con nuestros muertos. So that's it. I'm done. I don't know if you want me to read it in English too, or I don't know if Masud is there.
It is there, but muted.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, I couldn't see you, Masud. So I was like, okay, what should I do next?
We can hear you,
Masud.
Thank you very much, Brunhilde. Just I'm here and very much here. So now you can read your poem in Spanish and then you read the English translation for us.
Okay, I have just finished my poem in Spanish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it again in English. Okay?
Okay, please. Just a minute, Brunhilde. I want to show you one comment, and very encouraging comment from and it is from the Calcutta University, from the English literature final year students. They just one of them just commented that, "Thank you, Tirundaj, for this beautiful session. Student of English literature, final year under Calcutta University, India. Thank you to all my dear poets." Okay, thank you very much, Shovik Nashkar. Shovik is from Calcutta University, from English department, and they are watching our program. So now just you go with your English translation of your poem, Brunhilde, please.
Yeah. Okay, so big shout out to all people from Calcutta University who are here. So big kiss to all of you. So English version. First came death holding fast the purple and men's scream. Behind the trenches rows of gods lay, and their hands were mute and black, and their hands wrote the substance of tears. Then came the woman dressed in clear water. A woman is a sword that shivers at the image of her own edge, and her eyes have no end. Later, we arrived. We drank from the scream and held it hot in our throats. The scream galloped in the night, and its yellow eyes came down in torrents. Our spears bellowed before the enemy. Our spears were burned to the blood in bloom. And it was us, naked and black, the scream's face, the face that looks at us reflected in small gods. But tomorrow will be Monday, and we will make peace again with our dead ones.
Okay. So far, I think that you have finished a wonderful recitation and of a wonderful poem. We have heard, and she is in fact a very good poet. So again, I must appreciate her for her wonderful poem and the viewers. Now I want to just say something about, before going to another poet, I just want to say something about Baudelaire. What I am just reading a quotation. I am reading a quotation of Arthur Simon. Arthur Simon, in fact, Arthur Simon is a very good critic, and he wrote one book on symbolist poets, and the title of the book is The Symbolist Movement in Literature. And this book, in fact, published in 1919. So almost, yes, not almost, more than 100 years before, he wrote this book on Baudelaire, Arthur Simon. And he wrote, I'm quoting, quote unquote, he means Baudelaire, he spent his whole life in writing one book of verse, out of which all French poetry has come since his time. One book of a prose, in which prose becomes a fine art, and some criticism which is the sanest, subtlest, and surest which his generation produced, and a translation which is better than a marvelous original. So this is Baudelaire. What a poet, what a prose writer he was. And this is the Arthur Simon's saying. He wrote in his book in 1919. That means almost after 1 year of Baudelaire's birth, and after 100 years again, I just read this to you. And what he said, that is very important, that he wrote only one book. And from that only one book, all the French poets came after him. And another, only one prose book he wrote. And after them, the prose we get in French, marvelous prose we get from French writers. And also one criticism, or few criticism he did. And the next generations, they learned how to write critical pieces. So really, he was a great poet, great prose writer, and also a critic, Baudelaire. So, okay, dear viewers, now I want to go to in fact, Bagli, and then next will come Anna Maria, and last I want to invite Lambert. Never mind Lambert, because you are the only French poet now with us. So we want to get something more from you, if you can say about Baudelaire, because you are from his land, from France. So, okay, now I want to go to Bagli. And Bagli, before going to her, I must introduce her to my viewers, and that she is also a wonderful poet. Originally, she born in Italy, but now in Spain, Rome. No, sorry, she born in Rome, Italy, and now living in Spain, Madrid. So, since 2002, she is over there in Spain. She's a writer of poetry. That means she's a poet, wonderful poet, short story writer or short fiction writer, and essayist. And she is also a translator and interpreter of Spanish. She is the author of several poetry books, a compilation of stories, a children's book, and articles and essays for newspapers and digital magazines around the world. And her poems and writings have been translated into 20 languages, and maybe more than that. And she in fact performs as an ambassador, of a cultural ambassador. She works like that and she is from Spain. She represents sometimes Spain and as well as Italy as an ambassador. So now I'm asking her, Bagli, please read Baudelaire's poem and translation if you have, and then your poems, please.
Yes, thank you. I want first of all, I want to say thank you to you for inviting me to this precious and important event, and because I appreciate you very because you are dedicating your life, to spreading culture in every languages and in every part of the world, so I'm really happy to be here with great poets, and I love Baudelaire. I have here an edition, a bilingual edition, Las Flores del Mal, in French and in Spanish. So I have done a translation della Hymn to the Beauty, and Hymn to the Beauty by Charles Baudelaire in Italian and in English. I read English first and then in Italian, or I read in Italian only my poem. Please?
Yes, please.
Sì. Hymn to the Beauty. Do you fall from high heaven, or surge from the abyss, O beauty? Your hellish and divine gaze confusedly pours out benefit and crime, and for this we can compare you to wine. You have dawn and sunset in your eyes, you spread fragrances like a stormy night. Your kisses are a philtre, and your mouth is an amphora, which make the hero weak and the child brave. Do you rise from the black abyss, or do you descend from the stars? Charmed destiny follows your petticoats like a dog. You randomly sow joy and disaster, and you rule everything and answer for nothing. O beauty, you walk on corpses of dead men, you mock. Among your jewels, horror is not the less charming, and murder, among your dearest charms, dances lovingly on your proud belly. O candle, the blinded moth flies to your light, crepitates, burns, and says, let's bless the flambeau. The panting lover, bent over his beloved lover, looks like a dying man caressing his grave. If you come from hell or heaven, who cares, O beauty? Huge, dreadful, ingenious monster, and if your glaze, your smile, your foot open the door for me upon an infinita or I love, but I don't know, from Satan or from God, who cares? Angel or siren, who cares if you make fay with velvet eyes, rhythm, fragrance, glow on my special queen, the universe less hideous and the moments less green. Inno alla bellezza. Vieni dall'alto dei cieli o dall'abisso, bellezza? Il tuo sguardo infernale e divino riversa confusamente il beneficio e il crimine, e per questo possiamo paragonarti al vino. Hai dentro gli occhi l'alba e l'occaso, e come notte tempestosa diffondi profumi. Un filtro sono i tuoi baci e la tua bocca è un'anfora che rende debole l'eroe e coraggioso il bimbo. Sorgi dal nero baratro e discendi dalle stelle? Il destino, affascinato, segue le tue vesti come un cane. Semini a caso le gioie e i disastri, governi su tutto e non rispondi di nulla. Oh bellezza, tu cammini sui morti che deridi, tra i tuoi gioielli l'orrore non è il meno affascinante, e l'omicidio, tra i tuoi più cari incanti, danza amorevolmente sul tuo orgoglioso ventre. La falena accecata vola verso la tua luce, o candela, crepita, arde e dice: lodiamo questa fiaccola. Quando l'amante ansimante si china sulla sua amata, sembra un morente che accarezza la sua tomba. Se vieni dall'inferno o dal cielo, che importa bellezza, mostro enorme, ingenuo e spaventoso? Se il tuo sguardo, il tuo riso, il tuo piede, la porta m'aprono a un infinito che amo e non conosco, da Satana, o Dio, che importa, angelo o sirena, che importa se tu, fata dagli occhi di velluto, bagliore, profumo, ritmo, o mia unica regina, rendi meno odioso l'universo e meno pesanti i minuti? Well, this is a very beautiful poem, and I like it very much, and I like to translate it in Italian. And it's an honor for me to translate Charles Baudelaire in Italian. So I want to read my poem dedicated to the society, to the death of society and the resignation that men sometimes feel. The Black Lady. It is you, madam, my obsession, and I toast you with rivers of champagne. I pay tribute to you with orchids and roses, with my bare skin who craves you. With open arms I await your kiss, with parted lips I want your frost. Come, falling from stone horizons, walk towards me from internal silence. Your new lover is here. I'm not afraid of you. Come and turn off my smile. Come and follow my tears, stalactites from my eyes, broken my life. I will be your slave, and the end of the journey cloaked in the blackest oblivion. Resigned, I follow my destiny. Fog envelopes the shadows that, like ropes, they tighten my throat. I come to you, oh my lady, I come to you, my black lady. La dama nera. Sei tu, signora, il mio chiodo fisso, e brindo a te con fiumi di champagne. Ti rendo omaggio con orchidee e rose, con la mia pelle nuda che brama te. A braccia aperte attendo il tuo bacio, a labbra schiuse voglio il tuo gelo. Giungi, felina, da orizzonti di pietra, in cieli verso me dall'eterno silenzio, la tua nuova amante è qui. Non ti temo. Vieni e spegni il mio sorriso, vieni e segui le mie lacrime, stalattiti dai miei occhi spezzati dalla vita. Schiava tua sarò alla fine del cammino ammantato dal più nero oblio. Rassegnata seguo il mio destino. La nebbia avvolge le ombre che come corde stringono la mia gola. Vengo a te, mia signora, vengo a te, mia dama nera. Well, thank you. I don't.
Gracias. We don't hear you.
Masud?
Yeah,
I don't,
please.
I don't hear
Thank you
you.
very much. Yes, thank you very much for thank you very much for reading your poem and also the Baudelaire's one poem with translation. So now just I want to go to Anna. You just if you have the Polish translation of Baudelaire's poem, then we want to hear. You can read and then your one poem. Just you read your poem in English, then it is okay. So did you get it? Are you ready? Okay, we have already passed 2 hours. Just a minute, I need to unmute you. Yeah. No, you unmute. You have did yourself.
Now I can
please.
talk. This is the poem or prose poem Be Drunk from Paris Spleen.
Yes.
And in Polish, which I tried to translate from English and a bit of French to comparing to French version. Upajaj się. Upajaj się bez końca. O to w tym chodzi. Jedyna to metoda. By koszmarnego brzemienia czasu, które ciąży na ramionach i ku ziemi cię zgina nie czuć, upajać musisz się bez wytchnienia. Czym zapytasz? Winem, poezją, życiem, prawem, czym chcesz, ale upajaj się. A jeśli czasem zbudzisz się raz kolejny na stopniach pałacu, przy drożnej trawie, czy w posępnej samotni twoich 4 ścian, gdy upojenie już słabnie, lub gdy po nim ślad nie pozostanie, zapytaj wiatru, fali, gwiazdy, ptaka, zegara, wszystkiego, co leci, wszystkiego, co zawodzi, wszystkiego, co się toczy, wszystkiego, co śpiewa, wszystkiego, co przemawia, zapytaj, jaki to czas. A wiatr, fala, gwiazda, ptak czy zegar odpowiedzą ci. To upojenia czas, abyś nie stał się niewolnikiem czasu, udręczonym, upojony bądź nieustannie winem, poezją czy życiem prawem. Jaka wola twoja? That was my translation. Thank you. We can't hear.
Will you not read your poem?
And I also have my own poem.
One poem, just to read the English translation. If you have.
Yes.
Yeah. Read the English one, English translation.
A bit of spleen in this poem you can find too. Antidote. You were my medicine in moments dark, joy, happiness, antidote for melancholy, unpleasant black, which like a worm inside my soul keeps biting, covering the glows and hues of this world. And a life's thread every day I must catch anew into my hands and hold it tight, 'cause there are those who count on me, 'cause there are dreams, ideals, which I still chase and chase and chase. You showed to me a different word, happiness together, and appreciated what's good in me. For what are you to be blamed that the fate bed into the ice froze the grains of anxiety? Together we will persevere, we will win. If you allow for this togetherness, then all the fears will disappear. It doesn't matter that now the time has come when the fate is mocking us so much and testing us, telling fight. You listen to yourself, don't worry, dance to your own heart's beating. in which the sweetest melody is playing, where passions themselves write the notes, and along with passions, this life, earthly, a life of beauty. I still believe it, secretly. Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you very much, Anna. And next, I just want to go to our last poet, waiting for a long time. I'm sorry, never mind, because you are a French poet. So
Yes.
I was keeping you waiting. So never mind, please.
No, it's quite all right, Masoud. Thank you so much for receiving me, and it's great to be with all these wonderful poets. Celebrate poetry and Baudelaire. I think you wanted to ask me what French people think of Baudelaire.
But before that, just I'm interrupting you for a little while. That I want to introduce you to our viewers. That
Okay.
Lambert Savigneux. I don't know what is the pronunciation of last name. I'm not sure. Could you please your name, please?
Savigneux.
Savigneux. Oh yeah, Savigneux. So
Right.
Lambert Savigneux was born in Pau in 1963. He is a painter, poet, translator, librarian, as well as a very good reader. He mentioned this, that he is a very good reader. Okay. Languages and literature are his first love. In 1992, he sets to open an art workshop that has been run until 2006, when he has to do work as a librarian. Still, poetry and art remain the core of his preoccupations and passion. That's great. And you know that, Lambert, I'm also like you. I'm a very, very fond of, in fact, art and also poetry. Simultaneously, I just like. Okay, now, whatever you like, you can say, you can recite, you can read tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
Like Brunhilde, I just love this poem, Invitation to the Voyage, which is absolutely, to me, what Baudelaire is. Well, although it's very, it's got different aspects of personality in poetry, Baudelaire. It can be very dark, at the same time, very light, very, with a lot of opening on art and colors. And what I'm very sensitive about is the opening of the otherness, being different. So that's the poem, Invitation to the Voyage, which I think I am going to read in French, the original language. Mon enfant, ma sœur, songe à la douceur d'aller là-bas vivre ensemble, aimer à loisir, aimer et mourir au pays qui te ressemble. Les soleils mouillés de ces ciels brouillés, pour mon esprit ont les charmes si mystérieux de tes traîtres yeux, brillant à travers leurs larmes. Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. Des meubles luisants, des meubles luisants polis par les ans décoreraient notre chambre. Les plus rares fleurs, mêlant leurs odeurs aux vagues senteurs de l'ambre, les riches plafonds, les miroirs profonds, la splendeur orientale, tout y parlerait à l'âme en secret, sa douce langue natale. Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. Vois sur ces canaux dormir ces vaisseaux dont l'humeur est vagabonde, C'est pour assouvir ton moindre désir qu'ils viennent du bout du monde. Les soleils couchants revêtent les champs, les canaux, la ville entière, d'hyacinthe et d'or. Le monde s'endort dans une chaude lumière. Là, tout n'est qu'ordre et beauté, luxe, calme et volupté. Charles Baudelaire. Shall I read it in English or just we've done it already? Masoud? Shall I read it in English or maybe read another poem of Baudelaire?
Yes, you can like. If you like, you can read another poem.
Another poem, right? L'irrémédiable. Une idée, une forme, un être, parti de l'azur, est tombé dans un styx bourbeux et plombé, où nul œil du ciel ne pénètre. Un ange, un prudent voyageur qui a tenté l'amour du difforme au fond d'un cauchemar énorme, se débattant comme un nageur, et luttant, angoisse funèbre, contre un gigantesque remous qui va chantant comme les fous, et pirouettant dans les ténèbres, un malheureux ensorcelé dans ses tâtonnements futiles pour fuir d'un lieu plein de reptiles, cherchant la lumière et la clé. Un damné descendant sans lampe, au bord d'un gouffre dont l'odeur trahit l'humide profondeur d'éternels escaliers sans rampe, où veillent des monstres visqueux dont les larges yeux de phosphore font une nuit plus noire encore et ne rendent visible que un navire pris dans le pôle comme en un piège de cristal, cherchant par quel détroit fatal il est tombé dans cette geôle. Emblème net, tableau parfait d'une fortune irrémédiable, qui donne à penser que le diable fait toujours bien tout ce qu'il fait. Tête à tête sombre et limpide, qu'un cœur devenu son miroir, puits de vérité claire et noire, où tremble une étoile livide, un phare ironique, infernal, flambeau des grâces sataniques, soulèvement et gloire unique, la conscience pour le mal.
Sir,
Yes?
you have finished your reading?
Yes?
Okay, so now do you like to read your poem? Your poem, I want to hear.
Okay, I read a short one.
Yes, please.
I've translated myself.
Yes.
Shall I start in English or yes?
Start with the French.
French, okay. Je tiens le son des commencements, cette lettre en forme de nœud, sur murmure, cette eau solaire, les calmes des irruptions des foudres, comme la jointure des ivresses, dans la résorption de l'ombre, au pli du plein soleil, une rayure tranche sur le rouge. Ce son pourrait être n'importe quoi, emplit tout le mouvement, baise le son parfait. S'étend, ce temps comme une eau ruisselle, au bleu des deux miroirs, celui de l'air et de la peau. Nu, ce pourrait être par quoi commence cet élancement d'ailes envolées. Now the English version. I hear this sound of beginnings, this letter shaped like a knot, a murmur, solar water, when lightnings calmly erupt, enjoining inebriations, when shades resorb in the fold of the full sun, like a scratch upon red brakes. This sound could be anything, the whole of the movements, a kiss to the perfect sound, extending, spreading like water downstream, to the blue of two mirrors of air and skin, nudity. It all begins with a twinge of wings soaring. Thank you.
Merci. Beaucoup.
Thank you very much. We can't hear you, Masoud.
We can hear you again, Masoud. Masoud, we can hear you. Anyway.
I want to tell you that we have already just on the verge of this program, and 10 poets from 8 countries, they have participated tonight, and we have celebrated one of the greatest poets of all time, and he is Charles Baudelaire, and I'm very grateful to the poets participating poets tonight. Marilyne Bertoncini from France, Lambert, Savigneux from France, Brunhilde Roman, Ibáñez from Spain, Elisabetta Bagli from Spain as well as from Italy, and Mircea Duta from Romania, Cohen from Israel, Myriam, Ghezaïl Ben Brahim from Tunisia, Julia Pikalova from Russia and from Italy, and another poet, Gili Haimoch from Israel, and Anna Maria Stępień from Poland. So we had 10 poets, and we all just dedicated our poems to Baudelaire. So before the conclusion, I want to ask Marilyne to speak about Baudelaire and to conclude this session with few words. So Marilyne,
Well,
I must say that Marilyne is also from France, and they have the heritage of Baudelaire poetry, and also she is a wonderful poet. So please, Marilyne, please conclude this session with few words, and then I will speak a little. Please.
Thank you, Masoud. There will be very few words. There will be an invitation to participate to the manifestation for the Bicentennial on Jeudi des Mots, which is actually a page on Facebook. We invite poets and readers from all over the world to send us videos of the reading in their mother tongue of one poem of Baudelaire. And all these contributions will be collected to make a longer video on our YouTube channel. I think this is a way to conclude this wonderful moment with you.
Okay, thank you very much. I understood what you have understood also what Marilyne said. Marilyne was saying that they're celebrating Baudelaire's bicentennial birthday in the YouTube, on YouTube, and they're posting translated video, a translation, and with that translation video reading, they are just posting on YouTube and inviting the poets from different countries to contribute with their translation of Baudelaire's poem. And of course, after making a video, you can send to them and they will just post it on YouTube. So the whole month it will be open for any poet from any part of the world. And I have already sent a video translated, my translation in Bangla. No, I have to send, not yet. I will send I'll also send. So I'm also asking you, the viewers, and also the poets present today, you can participate, sending your video, of course, with the translation of Baudelaire in your own language. Okay, so nothing to say more, but one thing I would just want to say that the modernity started with Baudelaire, and still it is continuing. Still, we are in his own world. We are living because he really understood that what is life of a person. For that reason, he was a great poet, all-time great poet, and still we are continuing in such a way and writing not like him, but following his philosophy or his way of expression sometimes, because you know that he was a symbolist. For that reason, he would be followed for a long, long time in future also. So thank you very much to all the participating poets and also the viewers, those who were watching for a long time, more than almost 2.5 and 2 hour and a half hour, 2.5 an hour is now going on. So thank you very much, and I must say goodbye to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Masud.
Thank you all of you. Yeah.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Enjoy your time.